This tutorial is to show a simple basic example to create embroidery designs with DG. In the DG system we have a couple of icons here on top, on the left, and on here on top we have menus. So to start a new page we click on this page symbol. This will launch an empty page. Now almost all embroidery designs are being digitized based on a scanned image. We are going to import one of those scanned images by clicking on this tool here, and we choose a JPEG image, as you can see here. Once this is done, it's on our screen. We can zoom in, zoom out. Well, let's zoom in real big, and you can see here those pixels. So this is a clear indication this is a rendered image. Now the image itself, I'm going to lighten up the image a little bit, and we are going to use some of the tools you can see here on top. These are drawing tools. I'm going to create shapes, vectorize the shapes using the pen tool. And in order to do so, let's zoom in big, and I will draw the shapes by creating a bunch of points. The points I'm creating right now are curve points because my shape is curved, and I'm doing this by clicking and pressing the Control key at the same time. This will create curved anchor points. I will work my way through until I arrive into this spot here. Here I'm going to cut short, and I'm going to continue the inside part of the shape. I'm doing this because I already have my mindset to embroidery mode, so this is going to be a part which will be converted to satin stitches. That's why I keep this, and as you can see here, I will hide my image. We have now drawn this shape here, and it's an artwork segment, as you can see here in the sequence view window. We will proceed with creating the next part, which is starting here in this corner part, and again here we will continue drawing using my curved anchor points. Let's move the screen a little bit up here, and we will work our way through all this area here. For example, let's assume we made a mistake here. You see I went off 3 points, so I can always go back by pressing the backspace key. Continue drawing here, so here we have more like a straight shape, and we are arriving to the first point, and here we press O and then enter. As you can see now, this part is done as well. We'll focus on the letter E. Let's start here. So the letter E shape is all straight. These are going to be all line points. And here as well, I'm going to simplify the shape by just cutting short here. Press O. Again, you see here, and the middle bar section, I will do that as an individual segment. Press O. We are now drawing the P. Now here we have curved shape. That's why I'm pressing the Control key, arriving here, and then straight. And then I'm going to work my way to draw these parts. Coming here and pressing O. And then we arrive with the letter S. We have this, let's start here. And again here we have like a curvy shape, so pressing Control key again. And here we have a spiky part, straight, 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 and then curve again. This drawing method here, we call that quick draw. We have a couple other drawing methods available as well. For example, Bezier, which is a more professional way, but we'll keep it simple at the beginning, and we will use the quick draw method. Going to the eye, which is simple, straight points here everywhere. Press O. Then we have this middle bar, this column. All right, now we're coming to the. Let's do this more complex shape now. Here I'm going to do this in different parts because the same as with the letter P. I'm going to do this part here in satin, this part in satin, and here I will follow through. Imagine my way of thinking is always, let's assume you have a pen in your hand and you are really painting this with a brush. So you would start here and you will go here and then go back. So basically you see this part will be cut because this will the predominant part here, and if we follow through here, we go and make a turn here, and then this swoosh part is going to be on top of the broader part, so that's why I'm going to cut it through here. So that is why when I draw, I will create my shape in such a way that I'll arrive here, and here I will cut it through and then continue drawing my shape. Press O, and as you can see, this is now an individual part. So let's zoom in a little bit bigger here so we have more precision when we work. We will draw starting from that corner point there, and in this case this shape is going to be on top of this part. That's why I continue drawing, and I'll basically create a shape in such a way, in such a sequence. Here we will cut short, as I had explained before. Arriving here, and with O, okay, I hide the backdrop image, and you can see here this is one individual part. Now we will draw this part here. So let's start, for example, at this corner point, and we will follow through here. Then with curve points we will draw the inner shape, and here this shape is on top of everything else. Move the screen a little bit up here, coming to this turning point, and we will draw all the way through here. O, we will join the last point with the first one, and now we're coming to the last portion with the O here. So let's start with the outside, perhaps here. We will now convert the artwork shapes, you can see them here in the sequence view window, all of them into satin stitches. Let's start with the first one here, which is this part of the P. Zoom in a little bit. So I'm selecting the artwork segment, and then I'm going to use this tool here called the angle lines tool. With the angle lines tool, I'm going to place an angle line at the beginning and at the end of this segment, and in between I'm going to distribute more angle lines. So the aim of these angle lines are indicating or giving the stitch direction, the angle line of the stitches. Pressing G, you can see here what happens. So this segment now it's converted to satin, and it has a beginning and an end point. This is the first one. Now let's select this one here. I'm going to do the same thing, pressing the angle line tool, and we're going to press to place the angle lines at the beginning first, one pair, and at the end of this segment, and in between. Let's focus here on this corner. You see here I want the stitches to turn sharply here, and here I also want them to turn like this, and then all the way like this. And with G, pressing G, you can see here this is a little bit too twisted here. Maybe we add an angle line here. And yeah, we can also edit vector anchor points. For example, these anchor points are a little bit too extreme here, so we'll slightly move it more inside in order to give a better result to the stitches. We have the P, and once we have done that, we can select these two parts, and you see here on the ribbon we have a couple of functions. One of them, I'm going to use this, called combine. So what this does, it's going to combine those two segments, and we have now a branched, what we call the branch satin path. Now we have one entry point and one exit point, shown by the green bead and the red bead. You can always move them anywhere you like to have them. Let's move this one, for example, to this side. Press G to generate the stitches. We're going to focus now on the letter E, adding angle lines, and we'll do the same with this at the beginning and the end of the segments, and in between we distribute the stitch angles like so. Press G to generate, continue with the next segment, select it and place the angle lines. Press the select tool, which is this one here, shortcut S on the keyboard. We can select those two, and the shortcut for this tool here is combine, is Control L. Again, here you see out of these two segments we have branched a satin path here. Now we will proceed with the letter P, add a pair of angle lines here and at the end of the segment. So I'll zoom in real big in order to really place them where the segment is. Let's place it like here, and in between let's do some here where we have this sharp corner here, and along the way we distribute the other ones like so. We come to the letter S. The angle line tool here has a shortcut D. The shortcuts are quite handy because they allow you to really work very fast, distributing the angle lines on the letter S. Then we have the letter I, and then this little column. Press D. So let's place the angle lines this way. And now we come to this part of the C from cola. Press or place angle lines here and here, and here in between maybe one more. And we will, so this is a tricky part here. The best way how to deal with this is to start with the angle line. Maybe we start here, and then we'll make them turn that way, and here we'll do a sharp turn coming here, and at the end of this segment you see here. And now we will work on this segment here, which is this one. So again, here I need to be careful. Press D for the angle lines. Let's start at the very beginning of this part, and maybe at the end, which is here, place angle line here, and between those, like I said before, we will distribute the stitch, the angle lines, so that the stitches will travel into that stitch angle. Now we have this, and for this 3 segments, I can also select segments here right on the sequence view by just selecting, and with shift, so I'm selecting all of them, and with combine I have made them one combined satin path. Now continue with the O, press D, G to generate. So we have here, you see here you have like a turning part, so maybe here it's a good idea to start with the stitch angle a little bit like this, so we give the stitches a chance to generate in that area. And here we make a sharp turn, and at the end of the column here, let's see, yeah, it looks okay, so maybe slightly like that. Okay, now this A here, we have 3 arc segments. Let's start with this one. Place an angle line here, place one here, and perhaps one there. Then we have this segment, add angle line pair here, and here we have the same situation like in the L here, you see, so I'm starting a little bit this way. Let's see how this looks good, yeah, and selecting this part and adding angle lines here as well. So we have all those parts of the A, we select all of those parts, Control L to combine them, and we end up with the Pepsi Cola all in satin stitch, you can see here. Now when I press D for 3D simulation, you see here we have thread connections between the letters. So there is one function on the embroidery machine that allows us to trim the thread between, in order instead of having a long thread connection here. Now the way how you activate that command is you select all the segments, and you can see here on the ribbon we have start and stop commands. So at the end of each one of the selected segments, that's why I choose stop command, I want to activate the trim. Now what this does is, if I press 3D, now you see all those thread connections are gone, and you also see like these little scissor symbols indicating we have trim commands, so the machine will trim the thread in those areas. And there are a couple of more functions that I want to show you. One of them is the lock stitch command. And this is very important because you don't want the thread to unravel when the garment, for example, is being washed. And at the beginning, at the end of each letter, you want the thread to really stay in the fabric. That's why we are going to select all of these segments and we are going to add the lock stitches. Okay, so we see here in the ribbon we have start lock and end lock. Those are the commands. I'll choose basic at the beginning, and at the end I choose a lock stitch called line. Then we can go into more detail. I want to launch the basic lock stitch to start inside the letter. So you see here I went into segment settings, lock stitch, and here we have one setting called start lock inside. Apply. Okay, what this does is at the beginning of this letter P, for example, you can now see this little, he has like a knot of stitches. So these are the basic stitches. It's the basic lock stitch at the beginning of the segment. The beginning of the segment is where you see this little bead here, green color, but the basic lock stitch is being launched inside of the letter. So all the stitches are under this satin stitch. And that's important because you don't want them to be visible when you have your embroidery. And at the end of the segment, in this case, let's see the end of this letter P, for example. You see here we have like a line of 3-4 small stitches. Best way for me to show this is if we go to stitch select, I select the stitch and now I will travel stitch up, down. This is a zigzag stitch, and then we have small stitch 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the lock stitch at the end of the segment, and I choose line. That's why it looks like that. All right, one more thing. If we want our embroidery satin stitches to look a little bit more bold, we can add density here. We can change the density to a value that is more dense, let's say 0.35 millimeters, and you will see here the stitches are now tighter. And we will also add underlay. You can see here we have a section called underlays. Let's add contour underlay. You see here it's going to do a contour underlay inside the satin stitches, so they are underneath. And let's also choose one called a zigzag underlay. So what this does, I will zoom in a little bit big here. So it's basically creating a zigzag underlay underneath the satin stitches, and the result is a nice bold looking embroidery. All right, this is a small, or this was a small tutorial to show an easy to understand example based on a basic logo. Thank you.